Hi, I'm Phil Bridges, owner of Straight Arrow Repair. Ever want to know how a repairman fixes things? Well, come with me and I'll show you how I solve problems. Let's make things better together. Hey, glad to have you with me again. Today, you're going to see me at least get started on a bathroom that's actually quite cute to look at. You want to pan in here and take a look? I don't know if it's actually functional because water tends to stay. This is flat, it's not bent. Pulled down is actually up, so water kind of stays in there. But they asked me to see if I could do something about that. But that's not really the reason I'm in here. The reason is as soon as I came to this house a month or two ago, I noticed that this floor had been wet. Now, how do I know that? Well, I could see a hump. Matter of fact, you can see this is leaning. How much of a hump? I can stick my finger, so maybe 3/4 of an inch between here and here where the floor joists are. So, and it's kind of the case all the way over. It's warped. And so we are going to take all this floor out and then put it back better than it was, because it won't be particle board that we put in here. It will be something that's much, much better than adequate for flooring to last. So first thing we're going to do is take a picture of everything that way, you know, knickknacks and shelves and pictures, and then the next thing, then we can take them all out, put them away. The next thing we'll do is take the door off, not necessarily in that order, pull the vent out and take the toilet out. I'm going to replace this tub, and they're going to have a cast iron tub. So we'll get to see what can happen when you put a cast iron tub in a mobile home. So here we go. All right, if you notice, this has a crack in it. That is because this is a real thin plastic tub that has a piece of foam underneath it. And that foam is supported by floor. Now the floor will have gotten bad, and then when you step on it, it doesn't have the support because the floor is bad. And so when you put weight on that thin plastic with no support on that underneath that foam, it ends up breaking. So what I suggest is that maybe a leak around the drain or from the faucet caused an area to get rotted and then it broke, or maybe the toilet leaked, got underneath there and did that. So it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg. Either way, the damage underneath the tub will have caused that crack. And if you see that crack, that means that the foam underneath there is no good, and you need to replace the tub. So we're going to be replacing that tub because of that, and we'll show you that. All right, so when you're coming to a tub like this, it has these pieces that go over the top of the edge of the tub. If you're going to keep your tub, you need to keep those sealed on the top particularly. Bottom, as far as function, doesn't mean a whole lot, and you'll see why, because the lip of the thin plastic tub goes up, but if it's not sealed up here, it'll run behind the tub down to the floor, cause your tub to have no support on the floor, and then a cracked tub will happen. So we're going to pull this one out to put in a cast iron tub, and one of the things I'm going to do is take a razor knife and cut it across the top there, so we won't have to deal with really good caulking, even if it is or is not. And we'll pull the screws out, and I'll show you that lip then. All right, so we've pulled the trim around the outside of it, and sometimes they actually have screws into the studs through this lip. But you see this lip right here? that's where, if this was not sealed, it would run behind that lip. So if you have this kind of trim on there, instead of a tub surround that was set over this, you will want to make sure the top of that trim is sealed so it doesn't run water down when you take a shower to the floor. The next thing we would be doing is crawling underneath and taking a pair of channel locks and take the nut that's on this loose. I don't really care anything about this tub, so I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to tear it up with a hammer and then pull. Now, I have a choice pin over that way. I can pull up one end and then the other, or the other, but that end's got a faucet, and I really don't want to go to the trouble of shutting off the water because it probably doesn't have shutoffs. And so what I'll be doing is lifting it up on this end after we take the kick plate off in the front, which is just paneling, and they got wallpaper on it. But we'll bust this out, pull this out so we can go up, and then we'll bust all this out so it won't be a problem. Here we go. I was telling you about the foam. Right there. Now, I'll tear out all this front right here. Now, talking about the foam. What is this right here? This is a mouse or a rat that will, and I've seen it in fancy houses, they'll go up through where the plumbing comes up and they'll make their nest all the way around the tub. And I've got plenty of stories of me having to deal with that. If you also notice, we had the crack right here. You see how all this floor has been wet? Probably because this drained. But it's possible that the sink overflowed or the tub overflowed and it run back underneath. It's possible. But we've got to clean up this mess that I'm choking about and bring you back and let you see what we did. We're going to pull all these pieces of wood off, everything. All right, so you may have seen in a mobile home where this shower head's hanging down, the drywall's busted out, and I'm like, how in the world that happened? Because they don't use a lot of times they don't use a drop your elbow, which is fastened with 3 screws and it's fastened to a piece of wood that runs from one stud to the other. They just push a hole through, drill a hole through the drywall, and then there's this side here is threaded. This side is threaded and it has a nut on the back side, so it just tightens up on both sides of the drywall. On the drywall, you hang stuff off of this and the drywall breaks and you think maybe the plumbing's bad. But it's just an inexpensive way of hanging it up. If you come on over here, I'll show you the threads. You see the threads right there? And there'll be a nut on the other side of it here. But right now we're not doing that. So if you go to fixing something like this, you'll have to get either change it over to the drop your elbow, which has 3 screws on the neck to fasten in, put a piece of wood in there for that drop your elbow to fasten to, or you have to replace this area with drywall that will hold up, and then put your tub surround and then the nut on that. And by the way, we determined that it was either squirrel or chipmunk because there was a whole lot of acorns and walnuts and all those kind of things in this bathroom area. So it wasn't a rat or a mouse. It was something that climbing trees and likes nuts.
And hibernates.
So next we're gonna just try to get the floor out. They have run like a paneling over the floor, some overlayment that they sell at Lowe's and Home Depot. And it's probably fastened with screws, and then this is glued down tile. It's peel and stick. So what I'm probably gonna do is get a saw and cut, which I know one stud is right, one floor joist is here and one's over here. So I cut in the middle on both sides of that, and I should be able to rock it back and forth and get it out. But we'll see. Okay, so what I've done is, knowing the floor joist is here and here, because that's where it's highest, and the floor sagged where it got wet, I cut right here on this side of the floor joist and there, knowing that that floor generally is held on by a little bit of glues and staples. And this has got a whole bunch of nails for the overlayment paneling, holding it down, and it'll take me a while, but let's see if I can influence this stuff to come up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna step on one side and then on the other, rock it back and forth where that staples will start coming loose and the glue, and see if I can get it to cooperate. Gonna need more influencing. It's like I need to pull the staples on the vent so I don't have to redo that. So I'll take a break and do that, and I'll lift this stuff out. This coming loose.
Looks like it's leaked multiple times.
Doesn't look like it leaked around the toilet. Like the tub overflowed.
Right, but the sink too.
Stains on the back of the particle board. Kind of see it spilled here and went down through there. So they overflowed the tub. Knock this particle board out. Well, making distance. like work.
With the metal blade.
All right, I will give you a little cheat sheet kind of thing that I do. I know for about 34 inches or so from the outside wall, which would be about 30 inches from the inside wall, there's a frame that runs all the way length of the house. And where those two halves meet, it's the same thing. Basically, it's a little less than 8 feet across most of the time. Now, in this case, a 2x4 or 2x6 was on sort of a 2-foot center, is 22 inches, 23. It's way under there to the other side of the room that it would be very difficult. I could cut a little slit in the floor, you know, so I can get my head up in there, go underneath and fasten on both sides, run a board all the way across and then run it over to the other one, then fasten it, toenail it. But what I've learned is that a 2x4 laid down and a 2x4 standing up is the same distance as a 2x6. So if you can get on top of the frame, either standing up a board on top on edgeways and then laying it down like this, you still are going to be the same height, and you won't have to go all the way to the other one. Now I've got it fastened in here too, and then over there, this is notched 1.5 inches. So it comes over here, and then 1.5 inches down, 1 5/8 down, and then screwed here. On that end, I've got a board laying on top of the beam, and then this board is running long ways on top of it. So we have the same height all the way across. If you notice, I don't even have any screws on that, but I will put a board over there against the wall. But just a trick you can do, you can lay one down, lay one 2x4 down, and one 2x4 standing up. It's the same as a 2x6. So that's what we've done so far. We've also put a 2x4 on this side, so we'll get to the bottom of it. And now we're going to put a board along the edge where we're going to put the first piece of plywood. And first one's going to be a tough one, because it's got a lot of cuts. It's got the vent, the drain, and both supplies in it. And we're going to go across the floor so we can get our most strength. So this is what we're doing. We're going to run wherever the board is cut, that's where we're going to put a 2x4 so that it won't move. One side or the other won't move. And screw it down, and they'll both be the same height because they're screwed into the 2x4. And that's what we're doing. All right, so we're back another day over the weekend. Well, we showed you what we did to get the board on the side there that was in between the two floor joist layouts. And we did it on this side. There was a little bit of insulation. Well, there was insulation left on top of the frame. We laid our board flat and then put that board on edge. You may have to allow for the fact that you'll have to add a 1/4 inch in between somewhere in there, 3/8, which we will do. We'll drive a wedge up in there. But as it was, we were up against the floor over there, so we had to make that decision. Over here, I think we can go up a little bit. Although, if you look, it's very tight against the floor right there. So I would like to get it tight, and also I'll make a wedge and slam it up in there and get it tight. The next thing, we don't go with the floor running with the floor joist, because invariably ends up getting dips in between, because plywood strength is across it. So we're going to run across the floor to get that strength. And then if you notice, we've got 2x4s on the edge over there, and it's screwed. We got one to adjust, and I have measured from this side here across. And I got room 54 3/8, or maybe 54 1/2. A little on the loose side, but I don't want to have to fight it. The next thing I want to figure out, since I started from this side, we're going to have to clean up a little bit right here where it's sticking out, whereas the rest of it is not. But since I'm going to measure from this side, it's pretty consistent. We start on the side of this pipe at 4 1/4 to 6 1/2, and then I'll go out there and transfer that, and then I will let's go out there and do that. 4 1/4, 6 1/2, and then side to side. $26 1/4, 28. So what I'll do is transfer these right there, like that. Mark. You might could round these corners a little bit, but it's not that big a deal. If you want to know what I just did with my fingers, I've got a video on how to do that. But you can do the same thing with a straight edge, like a 4 foot level or 2 foot level. Mark it. That's where I want to cut. Then we have to cut where the water lines will be. I would like them to stay inside this line. Usually they're about 1 inch to give it room, so 7/8, and 1 inch. I'm gonna go down a little bit, give it even more room. Now, we have a floor vent over here. This side is not really the pretty side, but the other pretty side had a great big chunk missing out of it, so I've turned it over to this side. And what I want to do next is get that floor vent and then mark where the floor joists are, so I can cut. Sometimes, if I want to, I can angle cut, but it also helps kind of lay out where we put the screws. But what I'll probably do is go at an angle, say like that, and probably like that. Cut those out, and then that way I can just slide it in and then lay it down. And I'll do it underneath this side because all that plumbing up above will keep me from dropping down. So I'll go underneath on this side and drop down on this side. So next thing we do is we'll get the floor vent here. .35 to 39 1/8. Now it's usually they're 4x10, so so we need to cut a little bit right there. 12 7, 23 1. .35, 39 1/4. I forgot what my numbers were this one. 34,
37,
39. 34 plus 4 be 30. I better check that. All right. one of the tricks that I've learned is, like, if I'm putting in this nail into something that's very fragile, like a piece of a real small piece of wood, but particularly with concrete board, hardy board and such on the siding, we literally put one of these nails in here and pre-drilled the holes so that we wouldn't break the concrete, which is very hard when we drove it in, and it made it easier to get in. So you might use that nail that is the exact size inside there, and then you can hammer it without much trouble. And just thought I'd let you know. Okay. All right, so now we've marked where the vent is, gave it a little bit of room. Most of the time, I can do all this standing up on sideways, but I've got the sawhorses, and we put some wood under here so the saw blade wouldn't hit either that or this. You got to give it some room. A lot of times, if you don't have a drill, you can just take your saw But if you have a drill, like a paddle bit of some kind, you can drill your hole, which now we got to put a battery into it. Don't work good without a battery. Okay, now we've got to cut this end over here. Generally, what I would do, so I know that I'm going to cut this so that I can get it behind. That you can't get it in one piece without cutting the pipe off and all that. That allows me to have the ability to take this that is not terribly sharp, and this is not terribly sharp, and the saw is not terribly sharp. That shows you can do it. no matter what. But this will allow me to slide underneath the pipe and over the top of the vent. And then I marked where the floor joist's on. If it's off a little bit, I'll know to go this way or that way on that line after a little bit, and we'll screw it down. Everything's going to be screwed. Generally what I would do is put a short piece of wood here, if I can, even if I have to turn a piece on the edge like this right here. That way, no matter that nobody's ever going to be back there, it's supported and makes it all nice and straight. So we're going to take all these pieces in. We'll show you when we get there. Wall. We gotta get the ductwork squared away. So, if you get into a spot where you need to adjust it, instead of hammering on the plywood itself to get in a spot, take this and hammer on this wood. That way the dent's on this.
And also make sure your fingers are nowhere near.
Yeah, don't hit your fingers. That's a good idea. In general purpose, don't hit your fingers. All right. Gotta get this up in here. Really, really flimsy and expensive. And there's a bunch of staples we gotta pull out. But you don't need to see all that. We got something underneath us right there holding this up. So, let's get that. Maybe I could get my hammer under it.
I see what it is. It's this. This needs to be cut back a little bit.
Right there?
Yeah. I can get it. I'll send it all here.
Just go ahead and put that down. This aluminum does not hold up very well. But we are making progress. Alright, so now we're not sitting on top of that. Make sure it's all curled under. I have to do a video on how to fix these things. And we'll put some screws in the sides or some nails and we'll hold that in place. So they use staples. You could use staples, air staples, or regular staples if you can get them to hold in. But you don't want to get in the way of your 4x10 vent fitting in there after you put your flooring, or on a temporary basis you don't want to fall in, you put the floor register or vent cover over it. I'm using 1.5 coarse, 1 5/8, something like that. That way it goes through the 3/4 and into the wood 3/4. I do it every foot or so in the field. Sometimes more. It's just high traffic area. You can do more, it just doesn't do as much good. But I do about every 6 inches on the edges. And this is an impact driver. You can do it with an electric drill. You can do it with nails. It just, nails will back out. You got a board here on the edge. It's like that wood was pretty swelled up. It might have been 1 inch. about that right here. If you notice, it's right on here. We were tied up against the bottom of that, so I know that that probably got swelled out. We'll fill that in with spray foam or caulking. That way no air gets in there.
Oh, there you go.
So what I was telling you about, if you have a board like this, you put it under there. This is a little bit long, so what I can do, put a screw right here. Loosen this up, it's sticking. Then big hammer for that job, but then we'll put spray foam and silicone and seal all that up so no animals or bugs will get in. Although, in theory only. If they make up their mind, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. A friend of mine was working with me. Was telling me about how every year down there along the Mississippi River, they have these gigantic concrete silos, and every year at the bottom of the silo, when they clean it all out, they have to seal up all the concrete because the mice and the rats will chew through concrete. I guess they take turns until they get to the grain. So every year they have to fill it back up with concrete because the mice will eat it out. So if you're thinking you can stop them if they want in, that's very optimistic thinking, not necessarily realistic.
So there you go.
All right, we got the first section in. We'll show you what we do when we get around the toilet. What's next? But I'll have to put another one. What we do is put wood everywhere that two pieces of wood meet. So if you didn't, what happens is a little bit of weight gets here or over here, and it makes a movement right here. So if you had linoleum or any kind of tile, that movement will end up making a line. So what we do to keep those two pieces always together is we'll put a piece of wood in between there. So that's what we're doing next. We're cutting. It doesn't have to be fastened to the 2x6s. It's a good idea. You don't have to. It's just to keep the two together. So it's 21 1/8, 7 1/8. And we'll do that. And then I'll show you how I cut around the toilet flange. Anyway, here we are. We cut the board so we have room in between the 2x6 floor joists. And what I can do is just hold it loosely. If you're not as sure about yourself, you can just set your screws first, like so. Make sure that they're pulled up tight. Because if they're not, then you pull down the other side, it'll be lower. That way, the floor seems to be continuous. That is a continual problem that I run into is two things that people do on a consistent basis. Probably because they don't know any better, maybe because they should do better, is that you don't want to put plywood over top of that particle board and then just overlay it. Because that particle board will continue to deteriorate. It is, if you look at that, as you walk over it, this stuff will literally disappear until there's just nothing left. And you'll be having the plywood sitting on staples and nails that used to hold that particle board, and it's not anymore. So overlayment is never a good idea because it ends up wobbling around. Whatever kind of flooring you put on it, even carpet will show lines where the plywood wobbles from side to side. And that's why we're doing that here. Not because I'm on top of particle board, because even though I'm fastening directly to the floor joist, I don't want that plywood moving. So got half of it underneath this one, and half will be under the next sheet that I put on. That way they're together, and the flooring won't, as a rule, be in bad shape. So keep that in mind whenever you're getting ready to do your flooring in a mobile home. Don't leave that old stuff underneath it because it just never quits deteriorating if it's ever been wet. Now, we still got a little bit of screws to put on here and here, but what we're going to do next is measure from this wall to this wall, which is 59.5, and we got a little bit of cleanup to do right there. Make sure all your staples are down again. Pull them out if you want to. Channel locks work really well. They also make a pinching tool that you can roll over. I used to keep those a lot. If you want to get real fancy and you can fasten long screws into your floor joists. I used to do that a lot. I don't do it as much. So anyway, I have these edges where I want them. The next thing I'll do is cut my sheet full length. I'll measure where the floor joists are, mark that on my sheet, and then I have a water line to deal with and this toilet flange. Toilet flanges have taught me a lot of lessons. So what you do is you take all that wax off. If you notice, we put stuff inside there. It can be cloth, it can be plastic in this case, to keep what? The smell from the sewer, from the septic tank, from coming up into the room. It literally will burn your eyes. It's so bad. And some really unusual smells. So I'm pulling this old wax ring off so I can show you how this works. Now you wouldn't want to cut around the edge here because there actually are screws that hold this flange to the floor. We'll have to pull that out. Now, you'd think you could cut right to that edge there, but you know what? If you reach under here, there's your screws that have the ability to hold it to the floor. And quite often you'll have a little bit of particle board that was cut. This Phillips head generally, and I believe there's usually 4. You can put more. You tend to want to be careful. You can pre-drill holes. Say if your flange got broken, you want to fasten it another place. You can pre-drill holes and then do it, or you can run your screw in backwards, like an 1.5 inch screw like this. Run it backwards and sort of like make its own drill bit. If you don't, it'll have a tendency. It won't always. To break if you get anywhere close to this edge, so it'll break the flange even more, particularly if it's an old weathered flange. So what I was going to show you is, if you look in here, that this sloped right there, so you wouldn't want to get your width on that all the way out to this edge, because if you feel under here, there's a slope, and it literally comes up to about right there. So we want to be able to fasten with the screws there. So we gotta make sure that we're about a 1/2 inch away from the outside edge, maybe a little less, 3/8. So it's important that we get it centered right, and it needs to be able to sit on the plywood. So what I'm gonna do first is go out there, cut the full length, then I'll mark the floor joist, and then we'll come in here and I'll show you how I measure that. 31 3/4, my stud that I forgot, or that stud, floor joist. All right, so we said we need to be about 3/8 beyond. So the inside is 4 1/16, but so that'll be 3/8, 3/8 is 3/4, 4 3/4 hole. We need a 4 3/4. We just might give it a little bit more than that. That's a 4 3/4 circle. So we need to find the centers. How would I do that? All right. I'm gonna measure from this wall, and I slide it over to it, and where the center of it is 13 5/8. So this way is 13 5/8. We need to know what this way is. So I'm going to put up against this plywood 9 1/4. Okay, we also have this to deal with. So 15 1/2 that way, 7 3/4. No, that's going to be like a 1 inch by 1 inch. If I have a paddle bit, I can just, after I mark the center, I can just mark it, drill it right there. All right, let's go out there and mark it. All right. 15 1/2. And 7 3/4. Floor joist is there. Now, nine 1/4 over 13 And you can take it, mark it 2 different places, mark a line through, or you can do what I did. And then 13 5/8 there. That is our center. Now, they make compasses that you can buy for drywall. You get one, I'll show you. One. I believe this was at a thrift store. I was kind of surprised. This one has a suction cup. You would not want to have to buy this one for doing plywood, but they make one for drywall. And what it does is the one for drywall, you have your measurements right here and you just adjust it back and forth like this one. But this one, you set it in the center and you go around, mark it. It's way fancier, and I just couldn't resist it because it was $4.75. And that would normally be $30, maybe more. Because it's brass and suction cup, so you can mark glass or cut glass. You got the right. Anyway, if you don't have that compass, we said that our width that we would give it 3/8 all the way around was 4 3/4. All right, so half of 4 3/4 is 2 3/8. So we have our tape measure, and we go 2 3/8. Make a mark right there. 2 3/8 right there. That's your center at 2 3/8, so we'll go 4 3/4 over here. 2 3/8, 4 3/4, 2 3/8, 4 3/4. 2 3/8, 4 3/4. See how I've got almost, I can kind of freehand it, but you want to, you can put more.
Or have a compass.
More lines to go to. And then you just mark in between them, circular. And I'm gonna give it room whenever I cut it. I'm not gonna cut right on that line. I'm gonna go back a little bit. So that would actually be closer to 5. But I know that this is my hole and this is the location that it needs to be. Now, I have to figure out how to get this in. What I could do, and I will do, is if you try to go around this round part to here, you won't be able to get it around the pipe. So what I'll do is I'll go from here to here. Lots of traffic on this road today. Okay, and there's a floor joist there, and we have more wood here, so we can literally just go straight through like that. Now, I can either go down to here and then go on that floor joist there, which would be pretty strong, but I'd end up with a lot of flimsy area right where the person stands. So what I would rather do is go back over to the floor joist here, which is the center here. And that way I can slip this piece in. It'll be a little difficult, but nowhere near as difficult as trying to. So what I would normally, if I wanted to do this all in one piece with no cuts, I'd have to cut this pipe if there was room, put in a coupling, put it back, make sure there was cut enough to allow for the coupling, the space of it, and then we'd be flat on the floor. But don't have to do that. I can do it this way. Slip this piece in first. Remember, I didn't go past the halfway point too much. And slip this big piece in here. And then I'll slip this piece in. Before I do that though, I'm gonna cut. Now I can drill with a paddle bit all these places, but I gotta cut it anyway. because me and my sawhorses there too. So now I have the ability to get this battery powered Ryobi or any other battery powered, or you can do it electric, which I have. Every tool I have that's battery powered, I have an electric one in the truck. Because these, you never know when you don't have battery charged up, you need to get it done. Okay, and then I gotta get this part. Came loose. Alright, we'll come back when we get it. That'll probably be hot. Okay. Take all this in there and put it in. Now, we've got a, I left this off so I'd have someplace to, I could stand, but we've got to take out more of this just to get this in. When we get that done, we'll show you as I put it in, how it goes. That was a journey.
You want to explain to them?
We had to bend this to get this in. What I probably should do is cut from here over to here, and it would have went in a lot easier. But it is in. Now we're fastening everything, and we'll go to lunch. We've got to figure out where the drain is for the tub, rearrange the drain and vent they have coming out of the, was coming out of the floor underneath the tub in the corner there, and we're going to have to figure out where that drain will come out here, and then we got to rearrange the vent so that that's got a mechanical vent over there. I don't know why. And then we'll also change out those to house type shut off, so we can we'll take this out, we'll take this trim off, this wood off, because we'll have to do something else for, looks like we need to get a little bit of drywall to cover that. Anyway, we're gonna go to lunch. All right, this kind of tub faucet, we've got to take this one off because we're going to take all this board that they put up to be waterproof. That type of faucet, we'll have to go to the back side to disconnect it. And there's a nut on the shower head also. So let's go back in the room next to the door. Sometimes it's a whole sheet of drywall that you pull off. But in this case, it's just some small pieces that are stripped out the screws. Wow, Fumbleina. If you look in here, let me turn the light on. There's a nut right here. So you'll need to tighten that up if you have a, see how they put a piece of wood in there to support it so the drywall wouldn't pull out. But we're going to pull that loose, and so we can pull that shower head out, which is not hooked up to anything. It's going to be a pain in the butt.
Do you go over there and hold it?
No, I say I will, but we'll see. May have to get 2 pair of chain locks. Let me pull this bottom one off.
There it is. One pair.
You're not videoing?
Still videoing. What do you mean?
In here, we have a nut there to take loose. All this has got to be taken loose. It's all been disconnected, but I got to get it out of there so that it won't hold me from pulling that panel. So, you need to zoom in there, take a look at it. All right, so I guess we can just show you later the results, because it's just boring watching me stick my hand in here.
What?
All right, so to give you an idea what if you're going to replace one of these mobile home faucets, don't have to have a mobile home faucet, you could have something else. But if you don't replace the tub surround, you'll have to deal with these holes if you don't use a mobile home faucet. So quite often people go back. These are really cheapy plastic. They last for a long time though, sometimes. Anyway, the way they're held on is there's a nut, usually a plastic nut right here, that holds it to the drywall. In this case, they have a steel washer and a piece of paneling, and then that nut there. Then the shower part, in this case, goes up like so, and it fastens right there. And then it goes up to the shower, and that usually has a chrome nut. If you notice, there's threads right here. They're larger than these back here. So what they do is they run the nut right here until it, they got enough room to get the drywall, and then they can put that chrome big plastic nut right there. And this has to be tightened on it also. This is all what they call Quest fittings. And the real trick is you don't want to over tighten. You do want it tight, and you do want to seal around all of that. Generally, when I'm rebuilding the tub and tub surround, I replace it with a house type shower head, and with a which has what they call a has 3 screws, and it's called a
Drop here.
there you go, drop your elbow. And then and it requires a piece of wood behind it to fasten to, and then the faucet will require whatever it is, some piece of wood to fasten to also. So I don't normally, unless the customer's on a budget, then I don't put these back in. I go to something better and with a new tub surround. And that's what we're doing here. We're actually putting in a cast iron tub. But we're going to take this stuff off. And in order to do that, I had to pull the faucet off, which had to go anyway. So just to let you know what you might get into changing the faucet. We just pulled this panel off, but I wanted to show you guys, you need to seal across the top of your mobile home faucet. If you don't, this is what it does on the back side. It goes down, rots this area out, which you won't ever notice. But worse is it will rot the floor. The particle board will give out, and then your tub will crack. So seal all the way around your tub, and especially across the top of your faucets, your bathtub faucet.
Your phone's about to die again.
The thing's pretty old. At least
It's newer than your phone. I'll say that.
Oh, that's right. Okay, my phone's old. My
Here,
phone's like 3 years old.
we're going.
All right. Look over here and we'll show them what all the plumbing that we did in here. Get the vent. There was the vent was hanging out in the floor. We had to get that in the wall. So we cut into 2-inch, put an adapter, put a T, ran the trap where it needs to be in theory, right here. And then the vent has to go back up through the wall. And we've done all that, and we've repositioned the lines so they're inside. Now, so we can get this. Wow.
Need that hammer?
Do I have to have a chisel? Let me see if I can get it in there. No. I got to chisel that out. Okay, you can shut it off.
One.
Hey guys, we are getting ready to put together an Allen and Roth platform shower system. And we are going to see if it is simple tongue and groove installation and how hard it is to cut. So follow along. Here we go, opening up the straps. Somebody poked a hole in there. Hope that didn't get in there and do something. Cut this packing tape. Oh, I'm allergic to Allen and Roth. Got foam to keep it from getting hooked. Oh, they're putting it up with tape, double stick tape, looks like. Rolls of double stick tape. Just sticking to the stuff. Yeehaw. Alright, so it's put together with the tongue and groove running across. It goes from side to side on the back first with number 1, 2, and then 3. And then it has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these pieces will have to be cut down in length, particularly because this is in a mobile home, which does not have 60-inch, but rather 56-inch bathtubs. So we're going to find out how this stuff cuts. Let's take a look at what it looks like. The whole package is about 120 pounds, 118, something like that. Looks like they're putting it together like a floor. It's 2 different pieces right there.
Now, why couldn't you use this as a floor?
I suppose you could use it as a floor.
Is it under it? Is there a foam in the back? No.
That last number 2. The numbered on the other side. You want to show them? Shows you the direction up and the number. So the first one we're going to do is number 1. So I'm going to set these down.
Well, it's got to be cut down at exact length.
There's not much laying over. There's number 1. And it shows you the direction that you need to go up with. So, measure width.
The green.
.5 on the first one. After that, it's 54 5/8. So that's a long. Reading the instructions, you can cut this stuff with a razor knife, but I'm not going to. I'm going to use a skill saw. Usually you want to mark on the back side, but I wanted to score the front side so that if the saw decided to chip, sort of like when you were cutting a for a top for a cabinet. I don't want it to go past that. So I measured the length on the inside, and now I'm gonna see about cutting. I'm gonna test cut it over here. Not bad at all. Here we go. Alright, this cuts very easily. It's very hard, but I believe that if you score it with a razor knife a few times and then snap it, it'll probably snap something similar to drywall or anything like that. So I'm gonna turn this over. Now it's supposed to be divided into 4 sections. So it's 26 inches divided by 4.
3.
6.5. 6.5, 13, and 19.5. Right?
No, it's 3 sections.
Okay. There's 3 lines. No, here's what we're doing. Now, in this particular project, we're not cutting it to the top of a shower pan or a bathtub. It has instructions about where you're supposed to sit on a bathtub. So if you're sitting on top of a bathtub, there is where's that lip? Oh, right here. You would sit on top of the shower instead of down in here. You would sit on that lip right there. The nailing flange is what it's talking about. The backer board goes up to here rather, and then it drops all the way down, I guess. So it's going all the way down, this shower wall is. So follow your instructions, but I'm not actually doing it for a bathtub, but you can easily follow these instructions. It has all the instructions for cement, masonite, old tile, plaster, and sheetrock. Preparing it is over here, and putting it together. These are the things you're going to need. Then it shows the installation and cutting of everything, which we're over here. Now, what it's showing is we put tape so that there's 4 sections. So there'll be 3 lines at 6.5 each. And then you put beads of adhesive, should be 2 inches apart, but no closer than 1 inch from the panel edge. So circles around in between this tape that we put in. So that's what we're going to do next. Is I'm going to mark where I can put the tape. And I can, you can just make marks on both ends and pop lines, or use a straight edge. But I am doing something that you would do on drywall, so this is very comfortable for me to do. But you can make the same marks and then pop lines or whatever. Those are where we're putting the tape. Okay. Sticky on one side, and got this stuff here that we'll peel off when we get in there ready to put it on the wall. I don't know if it has to be dead on straight. I can't see how it would need to be. So you'll need a knife or something to cut this. No, that's dull. I don't know what I did with my knife. I'll just use this dull one. Alright, I cut very, very easily. It is not difficult. Yeah, we'll mash it all down, make sure it's stuck in good. Okay. I'm gonna have to shut that off.
Yep.
I'm using liquid nails.
Where do you get liquid nails at?
Any number of hardware places, but this thing came from Home Depot. Don't want to get within an inch of the laps where it laps over, because it's supposed to push over into the seam. Don't want to get too close on the in the middle. Pockets not in there. Alright, we're going to take it in there. We'll show you what we do when we get in there. We're going to peel this tape back so it'll stick. And we've already cut it to what we wanted. So here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Alright, it's kind of tricky getting your tape started.
Is that similar to what the type of tape we use on the insulation for the roof? And peeling?
Prodex. It might be worse.
Here, you want to hold this? I'll do it.
Use a razor.
Well, I mean, I have my way I did it on Prodex. I want to try it again.
Yeah. Hold on a minute. I'm not ready to give up. It just peels off really easy. So I'm using a razor knife to get underneath it because I don't have much in the way of fingernails, and it's really fine.
So, here, after you get done with that one.
Anyway, I'll hold it. And I think the way he's doing it, holding his finger right in front of it as he pulls it, it seems to be working pretty good. One more. So I was kind of keeping it from tearing by running his finger along the area that the tape is pulling on. Alright, so we got that off. Now we're going to see if I cut it right. Now notice that this has a 1 and its arrow pointing up. So
The floor is not level, Dad.
yeah, I know.
So there's one.
I'm rubbing my hand to make sure that double stick tape and that glue all get stuck in there. You want to make sure your surface that you're sticking on is flat. In this case, it had some nails sticking out. Odds are you might miss one, but you need to double check. Run your hammer around the edges and where the nails might be. If that is one.
We'll come back on the second one.
Like I say, this is not a regular shower or bathtub. This is a cast iron tub, an antique tub that we're going to put in here in a mobile home. This is definitely not something you normally do, so we're doing it, and it can be done because we are Americans, not Americans. So here we go. Get the next one. It's an 1/8 of an inch longer. You notice that's trying to show a little bit right there. $54 5/8. So there we go.
Good to go.
Alright, so trying to drop it into that groove. It's pretty tight.
You need 2 people to do this?
No,
I think it leans in. It definitely leans in because you're not in.
hold on a minute. I made it real tight. Pretty much it. That
You're
looks
not
good.
in.
What are you talking about? I'm in.
No, you're not. It clips in.
I'm in. It's supposed to have a groove like all that.
I'm pretty sure it's on the floor when you hammer it in.
Are you sitting here arguing with me?
I'm pretty sure.
It is not. It's fine. Has a groove that it sets in. You can't mess up. It's the same all the way across. Is a staple.
It's not in right here. Get what it looks like.
Alright.
We only have one more.
I'll easily take that down and do the sides. let's do it again.
Someone tells me it's going to be a bigger gap than we thought. What do you think of it?
This feels like putting up flooring.
Flooring on a wall.
Yeah, the thickness and everything reminds me of this, which is what, core.
Yeah.
It's easy, real easy. So just about anybody can do it.
But real pricey.
Quite expensive, yes. All right, got a nail standing out right there. Staple right there.
One.
All right, so I want to let you know, we have this gap up here. That's not going to be normal if you have a
Tub.
shower that you're putting in, or a tub. A tub would even be higher. You would have to cut this top one. Once again, you could cut it with a razor knife and then breaking it, or a saw, regular skill saw, and cut across it. So you don't worry about it. I talked to the customer and they want to leave this gap up here, not down the bottom. This is going to be a cast iron tub in a mobile home. Clawfoot tub in a mobile home. It's not normal. And it's really cool. So I don't want you guys to be too terribly confused, because we are not doing this exactly the way it was meant to do, as far as sitting on top of a tub or a shower base. So now we're going to do the sides, and then this is the next side we go to.
Would you recommend still sealing at the bottom of it?
You seal everywhere. Top, the bottom, the sides. We'll probably seal with a white caulking. We're going to put spray foam around the plumbing over there.
Which is right there.
I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to do this side. All right, let's go get the next ones.
3, 2, 1.
All right, now we're getting ready to do the sides, which are 32 inches. And we're not going to worry about cutting that, because I want it to go as far out as possible. It's numbered. So the first ones against the back wall are 1, 2, 3. 1 on the bottom, 2 in the middle, 3 at the top. This one is 4, starts at the bottom. It shows you the arrow that goes up top. So this will be on the left side when you face it. So now, again, we're going to mark 6.5 inches. You can do this with a straight edge, 6.5 inches. We'll put the tape on that.
And rinse and repeat.
And then we'll put the party board.
I'm going to show them again how to take off the...
Oh, that tears real easy.
Here you go. So you probably don't need a knife to cut that?
No, it'll tear it, and you need to mash that down again so it'll stick. Now you're gonna have to get like a sharp knife, and or your fingernails. I don't have much because I break them, so I keep them tight so I don't split my nails all the way back. And it...
You're not doing the way I showed you?
No, I'm not. Keep your finger in front of it, it won't tear against your finger. Hey, the bosses are here. Then we're gonna put the silicone like we did all the others and put this in. We'll show you. Let me put it down. It's Phil Bridges. If you like what you saw, you think it might be helpful to somebody else, push that like button and let other people know what you and I now know. And we'll work together toward making a brighter future. And by the way, we're not Americans, we're Americans. See you next time.